Hey there everyone, this is Shabir from fishfindersource.com. Today I want to talk about the Lowrance HDS-7 Gen 2. Is it worth the investment or not? So the first thing that we want to look for is the screen size, and this particular model, the HDS-7, has a screen size of 6.4 inches or 16.3 centimeters. That's diagonally, so it'll go from here all the way to here. That is 6.4 inches. It is a color screen, as you can see from the screenshot, and the dimensions, the resolution rather, is 480 by 640. So it's a pretty sharp screen on the whole for mapping and for basic sonar. To put things into perspective, the HDS-7 is a little bit smaller. The screen is a little bit smaller than the screen of the new 7-inch Amazon Kindle. So I've got both of these devices here next to each other. This will give you a pretty good idea of how big it's going to look like on your boat. In terms of power, the Lowrance HDS-7 has a power rating of 250 watts RMS, or root mean square. There is another PTP rating as well, but that's just an inflated rating. The one that you actually want to look for is the RMS rating. There are two frequency options for transducers that come packaged along with the HDS-7. You can either go for 50 or 200 kilohertz, or a combination of 83 and 200 kilohertz. You can also use your own transducer. There is an option to buy the HDS-7 without a transducer included, and the Lowrance blue plug transducers will fit in these units. So how would you decide between either 50 kilohertz or 83 kilohertz? So the 50 kilohertz is meant for saltwater and deep fishing. If you're fishing out on the ocean or off the coast, or even in the Great Lakes for that matter, because they're much deeper, you want to go for 50 kilohertz. 83 kilohertz is good for all inland fishing, so for all other lakes, rivers, etc. 83 kilohertz should do more than fine. At either 50 or 83 kilohertz, depending on whether you're in saltwater or freshwater, you can expect to see around 500 to 600 feet deep pretty comfortably. If you're only going to be fishing inland, then I'd recommend that you go for the 83 kilohertz, because the 50 kilohertz is considerably more expensive than the 83 kilohertz. So if you don't need the extra power, you don't need the stronger frequency, then you'll be okay if you don't get it. So the 200 kilohertz, which is the second frequency, is good for a more detailed look. So the lower frequency is going to show a much wider area. So at 50 or 83 kilohertz, there's a lot more water that you're covering. The higher frequency will show a more detail, but in a narrower area. So there's less water that less bottom or water that you're covering. So the lower frequency is really good for higher speeds. So when you're actually scouting the water, that's when you want to use the either 50 or 83 kilohertz. And once you find a good spot, you can zoom in, so to speak, on that spot using the 200 kilohertz to get an even better idea. Now, one of the best features of the Lowrance HDS-7 is the StructureScan HD model. This does not come included with all of their configurations. It is an extra add-on. So if you already have an HDS unit, you can buy the StructureScan separately, or you can get it packaged along with the fish finder itself. So the StructureScan is an external module that gets you both high resolution down imaging and side imaging. So you get a really high resolution picture of what's exactly beneath your boat and either side of your boat. And side imaging is actually the coolest feature of StructureScan. The other advantage of StructureScan is that you can network many units all onto one StructureScan, and we'll get to that. So these are some screenshots of taken using the Lowrance StructureScan. So here we've got a bottom that's about, between 30 to 60 feet deep. At one point it's around 30, another point it's around 60. And as you can see here, you can actually make out rocks and trees and other underwater plants really, really clearly. If this was the traditional sonar, you'd be only seeing blobs. So this is how good StructureScan is, and this is at 800 kilohertz. Here's an example of side imaging. So with the side imaging, the line in the middle here is where you are. So this is the center of the screen effectively, and that's where your boat is. And from here rather, all the way to here, this is around 240 feet to the left of your boat, and from here to here is around 240 feet to the right of your boat. And the really cool thing about the side imaging is you can in just one go you can cover up to 500 feet of water. And this is also highly detailed. You can actually make out some of these rocks, and this actually looks like a wreck, that a shipwreck of some sorts. So there's an amazing amount of water that you can cover in just one shot with the StructureScan. You can also do split screen, so you can see you can see the side of your side imaging and down imaging together. So this little clump of what looks like a school of bait fish, you can see the same thing here as well. So this is where the boat is, and just behind your boat there is this giant school of bait fish floating around. So you can see that both on the down imaging and on the side imaging. And this is at 455 kilohertz. This is another split screen view that you can do, and this is where the bigger screen also comes in really handy, because since you have more screen real estate, you can see each view that much more comfortably. So here it seems like this looks like a lot of bubbles, and here this looks like a small school of bait fish. This is the down imaging at 455 kilohertz. This is the side imaging. Remember, it can do both things at once. This is 160 feet on each side of your boat. Here you can see the school of fish that you just passed, and this is what looks like the bubbles. And this is the same reading on the traditional 200 kilohertz sonar. So here, this little blob of echoes is what looks like the school of bait fish, and this is what seems to be the source of the bubbles. And this is about 35 feet. This is about 35 feet deep. So this is the kind of imaging that you can expect with the Lowrance HDS-7. A quick note on how you would install the HDS-7. So with the StructureScan, so the StructureScan is a separate module, and that connects to your fish finder. The HDS itself is connected to its own transducer and to the power. And from the StructureScan, there's a special StructureScan transducer and a separate power source. And the cool thing is that if you have more than one of these units, you can actually hook up to 3 units from just one StructureScan module. So you can have one at the bow, one on the console, for example, and to both of those you can run a cable and see and get the StructureScan data. Another really awesome feature of the HDS-7 is the Structure Map HD. And as you know, the HDS-7 does have a GPS chart plotter built into it. So the cool thing about the Structure Map is you can overlay the side scan data that you collect onto a map itself. So here we have an example of the built-in contour map. You can see the contours here as well, and this is all of the water that you've already covered with side imaging on. So it's the map with your coordinates, and it actually shows you the kind of structure that you're seeing underwater, and it'll save that and it'll overlay that on the map. So this is especially good for tournaments where you can go to the lake or wherever you're going to be fishing beforehand, and just 1 or 2 trips up and down the entire lake, and you can actually cover the entire lake. So next time when you actually go out during the tournament or championship, you already have all the structure data in front of you, so you can directly navigate to promising spots and get started right away. So this really gives you a competitive edge, especially in tournaments. This is another example using the Navionics 3D charts. So those are the flatter contour charts, and this the same thing is also going to work on the Navionics 3D charts as well. So now that we've covered all the basic features, let's get into who this is, who this fish finder, the HDS-7, is actually good for. Who would benefit the most from using it? So anglers that want more punch out of their fish finders. You know, you could be a recreational angler or a hobby angler, and you want a lot more punch out of your device. You want a device that doesn't just show you the bottom and maybe a fish here and there. You want one that can do so much more and that can actually control your entire boat. This is the fish finder for you. It's also good for tournament anglers, like we just spoke about. It's also good for larger boats because you've got the larger screen and you have the space to fit it in. So along with the larger screen, you're going to get all these awesome features as well. And it's also good for fishing charters. So if you own a fishing charter, the technology of this that you get with the HDS-7 is going to be invaluable for you, especially for taking people out, because you've already mapped all the structure. So getting to a good promising fishing spot is just that much quicker and that much easier. So like I mentioned, that you can control your entire boat with the HDS-7. So let's see what are the things it can do. I mean, the HDS-7 can do everything else except make toast, you know. So the first thing is there's a feature called Go Free Wireless, where if you have Wi-Fi capability on your boat, you can actually view your HDS-7 screen on your iPad using the app that Lowrance makes. There's also broadband radar. You would need an external radar dome for this, and this is a must-have for lakes and bays, if that's where you for crowded lakes and bays, if that's where you go out fishing. It is a must-have safety feature. Also, there's this Sonic Hub system by Lowrance. You can hook up your boat's audio system and control it from your HDS unit. There's also expansion for satellite radio. And there's also NEMA 2000 networking, where you can network one unit to another unit. You can also get engine data, fuel data, and you can see all of that on the Lowrance screen, on the HDS-7 screen. Finally, you can also hook up your VHF or AIS radio and control that from the HDS-7 screen itself. So here are a few reviews from around the web, and this is what people who actually use the HDS-7 have to say. So this is from a really happy user. He says, "I was able to find everything I needed with just following the screens. They make sense. And the sun does nothing to the screen." So the screen is really visible, easily visible in bright sunlight as well. Here's another one. The three screen feature, which is the split screen that we saw, keeps sonar, StructureScan, downscan, and or mapping. You can even do a four-way split in front of you at all times. And scrolling between screens is simple with the carousel feature and quick. So the HDS-7 is it's an excellent unit. It is completely worth the price tag for the performance and the features it delivers. It also has a really fast processor, so the overall operation of the unit itself is really fast and zippy. Just one note for installation is that the transducer cable is only 20 feet. So if your transducer is going to be further than 20 feet away from the main unit, you want to get an extension cable when you buy the unit itself. All right, so that wraps up this review. I hope that you found it useful. The HDS-7 is completely worth the investment. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment on YouTube, and I'd really appreciate it if you could give this video a like if you found it helpful. This is Shabir from Fish Finder Source signing out. Tight lines, everyone.